No way, you think. That is scary. Who in their right mind is going to go diving into the water in the dark? You don't know what the heck's down there waiting for you. And if that's you, stay tuned, because in this video I'm going to share with you 4 tips for beginner night diver. Hi, I'm Dianne from ScubaDivingSmiles.com. Now let's get into our first tip. And that first tip is to go at sunset. Now many dive boats, especially in the Caribbean where I've done most of my diving, do leave for the night dive right before sunset. And that's great because that way you have light while you're getting your scuba gear ready and you're getting all ready to go underwater. And a side benefit, it feels less intimidating, at least to me, to go underwater while there's still some light left. But even though you do have light on top, it gets pretty dark pretty quickly, especially once you go underwater, because you're going to lose some of that light underwater. And by the time you do surface, it will be dark out, but that way you just gradually adjust to the darkness underwater. And once you are comfortable doing a night dive, you'll be ready to go and dive in when it is pitch black out, or go into that shore dive when there is no ambient light. And it will happen for you, you know. Just give it some time, get some night dives in, and you'll see how much more comfortable you feel after just a couple dives. I know on my first night dive, I was in CocoView in Roatan. They have some great shore diving there, but we had never done a night dive before, so I actually hired a guide to go with us on our first night dive to show us the ropes, and that way I felt a little bit safer anyway. And it was wonderful. He did a great job, and then for the rest of the trip we had no problem just going out by ourselves. But for your first night dives, I would definitely recommend going at sunset. And heading on from there, for our tip number 2 for night diving is to dive a familiar site. Try and dive a site that you have dove during the day. That way you know the layout, you know where you're going. It's not going to be a total new environment for you. And a lot of times dive shops will schedule a night dive for a dive that has been done during the day. So that gives you a little bit more feeling of comfort if you already know what you're in for on that dive and the dive plan and the dive site. And don't worry about diving the same site, because at night is a completely different dive. You're going to be seeing different fish, different critters, different things out and about that you're not going to see during the day dive. So do not worry about repeating a dive site. It is a whole different dive site at night. And for tip number 3 for night diving is to get familiar with night hand signals. So before you do start your dive, you need to discuss with your dive buddy what hand signals you're going to use underwater, because obviously it's dark down there and your dive buddy is not going to be able to see your hands. Now if you're on a dive boat or in a dive group, usually the dive master would tell you what hand signals to use and how to do it, but always reconfirm with your buddy that you're both on the same page and know what signals you're going to use. Now a typical way to use night hand signals is to shine your light on your hand so your dive buddy can see it. Common night diving signal is to move your dive light in a circle to signify okay. And moving up and down or back and forth can also signify okay, but always have that all straight beforehand what those signals are going to mean. So before we get on to tip number 4, please tell me, what is your biggest fear or concern regarding a night dive? Please share in the comments below. And our 4th tip for night diving for beginner divers is related to the tip number 3, and that has to do with light. Now obviously you need some light, but you need a primary light and you need at least one backup light. So it's going to be different during the day, when sometimes, a lot of times, you don't even have a light. Now you're going to have your primary light and you need the backup light in case that primary light fails, because you never want to be left down there without any light. The secondary light can be small, it can fit in your BC pocket, but just have it accessible in case that first light does fail on you. And you don't need the biggest and brightest light that you can find, because you'll be amazed once you're down there how your eyes do adjust to the darkness. And one tip here too is always be cognizant of where you're shining that light. You never want to shine it in the eyes of another diver, because that's going to temporarily blind you. You won't be able to see anything. So always be aware where your dive light is shining at all times. Now many dive operators also will attach a glow stick or hopefully a battery operated stick on the tank, so people are easier to spot. Sometimes one dive group will have one color, one dive group will have another, or the dive master may have a different color, but that just makes it easier to spot everybody underwater. And of course you're going to want some way of attaching that dive light to you, because if you let go of that light, that thing is just going to go straight to the bottom, and there goes your primary light. A lanyard or a stretchy cord, whatever you're comfortable with, is perfectly fine, but just make sure it's attached to you in some way. And actually, one thing I have seen related to lights is to use reflective tape. You can use it to put it on your dive light or something else that you may be carrying, because that way, if you do drop it, you'll be able to shine your light on and see it. And a lot of time, a night dive is a shallower dive, so if you're lucky, you can see it on the bottom. And I've also seen people put an X with reflective tape on their tank or on their BC, and that way their dive buddy knows that it's them. It's something worth considering. And if you'd like some more beginner scuba diver tips, watch this video next, and I'll also link to it in the description below. And I hope to see you there. In the meantime, happy and safe diving.